everyone, and welcome to MrMoFranchise. It's episode 2 of the Pittsburgh Steelers rebuild, and in this episode, we're going to take a look at our coaching staff. First of all, we're going to look at the approval rating of our coach when we start. So in my Madden franchise, what I do is for each game that is won or lost, your coach will go up or down in approval with 4 categories: the GM, the fans, the players, and the media. And I always feel like this would be a cool part of Madden if you got to see how you were doing with those groups as winning or losing was taking place. That way you could tell, is the GM going to fire me anytime soon? Are the fans behind me? Are the players behind me? And how is the media as far as how I'm doing as a coach? So at the end of each game, those approval ratings can go up or down based on a random roll and how you win or lose the game. And so the approval ratings are at 50s all across the board. Now let's talk about the hiring the staff. So Madden in Madden 22 introduced offensive coordinators, defensive coordinators, and it also introduced some of your hiring things. So I took out, last year I had offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator in my staff hirings, and I do think this is something they'll eventually go to. I think in the future Maddens will have some of these other coaches, but for now they don't, and so I've implemented that into the game by doing this. As the lifelong fan, I can purchase my staff. I can go out and spend money on different staff people, and they'll have different ratings. But I wanted to show that resources aren't unlimited, and so the lifelong fan says, "Listen, we'll let you go out and we'll let you spend some good money on, really good money on 2 people, some decent money on 2, some above average money on 2, some below average money on 2." Some not so good money on 2, and then not much money at all on the final 2. And so these represent dice rolls, and so I would roll a D14 for one of my best ones, and whatever roll I get, that's the rating that coach will have. So it makes more sense when you actually see it in play. So the 2 spots I wanted to spend the most money on were the CEO and the player personnel director. The CEO takes care of the money situation, and they try to get us to make more money for things like promotions and things like that. The player personnel director is in charge of hiring the players and getting them a better contract and checking the league to see if there's any better players out there. So I really want to build my foundation with those 2 people. My next 2 best people I wanted to have would be the quarterback coach and the offensive line coach. I think this team is going to struggle on offense early on, and I want to get a rookie quarterback in the first draft, and I want that person to be able to have a good quarterback coach. And the offensive line is just going to be porous and terrible the first couple of years probably. So I want the offensive line coach to be able to coach him up. And then my next thought was my strength and conditioning coach, and then my defensive backs coach. I want my strength and conditioning coach to be good because I want them to be able to help improve raw strength and speed categories. And so I want a good strength and conditioning coach. And then I wanted a good defensive backs coach because, once again, in Madden 22, it's easy to get toasted deep on deep balls, on one-on-one balls, and so I want to get a defensive back coach that knows what they're doing and can coach them up as well. And then below that, I have my defensive line coach with a D8 and my linebacker coach. Notice I focus on offense first. I am a little bit more offensive-minded, but it's also going to be important that we have a D-line and a linebacking core that can stop the run. And then for my D6s, I'm giving that to my wide receivers coach and my running backs coach. While I do think those are important, running backs coach is only going to affect the running back and fullbacks, and the wide receivers coaches are going to affect the wide receivers and the tight ends. And you can only spend so much, so those are the positions I went with there. And clearly what I'm showing is my least priority is the special teams coordinator and the head training position. And my thought process behind that is, special teams only affects a kicker, a punter, and some of the people on your special teams. And once again, priorities, I had to give a D4 to somebody, so I gave it to the special teams coordinator. And my thought on the head training position is, early on, a lot of these players, don't tell them, but I really don't care about them because most of them are people that I'm getting off of free agency that won't be that good. And my hope is I can avoid injuries early. So that's just sort of one of those, I'm crossing my fingers and hoping that injuries don't occur that much until I can get the resources from the CEO to buy a better head training position. So now I have to roll for the CEO. So I took a D14 die and I rolled, and I got a 4, unfortunately, which is, if you check the chart up there, it's a D+. So the best laid plans of mice and men didn't work out for me here. Even though I had an opportunity to get a Hall of Fame coach with a 14, I rolled a 4. So my CEO is not going to be that good. So as much as I tried to make them good, this simulates the fact that just because you have money to go out and buy somebody good doesn't mean you will. Sometimes you miss on a hiring practice, and clearly I missed here as I got a D+ CEO. Next was my player personnel director, and I rolled a 12, which is an A. So I'm really happy about this. This is going to make contract negotiations go a lot smoother, and it's also going to allow me to, look at different practice squads out there, maybe steal a practice squad player from teams. And just having a good player personnel director, I think, is a good foundational piece for a team that's rebuilding. So I was very happy with the 12. Next is my quarterbacks coach, and I rolled another 4. So once again, even though I wanted to spend good money on a quarterbacks coach, unfortunately I didn't get a really good one, and he will be a D+. And then my other D12 was an offensive line coach, and I rolled a 12. So I got one of the best in the business as an A offensive line coach, and that makes me very happy. So while I'm disappointed in the quarterback coach, I got a really good hire with the offensive line coach. Next up is strength and conditioning. I rolled with my 10, and I got the best roll possible, B+. So 2 back-to-back really good rolls with the offensive line coach and the strength and conditioning coach. So B+ there, feeling pretty good about that. And then I rolled for my defensive backs coach, and I got another 4. So I don't know what it is with these 4s, but I got another D+ coach for defensive backs coach. I'm not real happy about that. Moving on to my defensive line and linebacker coach, I rolled a D8, and I got a D- for my defensive line coach. That's a very poor roll. And I got a 3 for my linebacker coach. So not really good rolls there for my stopping the run core. A D- and a D. Really disappointed on that one. Now let's turn to my offense with the D6s for the running backs and wide receivers coaches. I rolled a 3 for my running back coach, so that's a D. And for my wide receiver coach, I rolled a 5, which is a C-, so I was pretty happy about that roll. And then finally, I end up with the special teams coordinator, and I rolled a 4, so another D+ coach. And then for my head training physician, I rolled a 1, which is an F. So overall, we've got a lot of hits and then a couple of misses here, certainly with the head training physician and the defensive line coach. But I also have some standouts from the player personnel director and the offensive line coach. So that's going to take care of my coaching staff. Next episode, we'll be looking at the players that I let go, and we'll be looking at the players that I let in. We'll be taking a look at the brand new roster of the 2021-2022 Pittsburgh Steelers revamped roster, which will feature a bunch of players that are in their very young age. And unfortunately, you'll see some players that I had to cut, and you'll see some of the trades that I had to do. Well, thank you once again for watching. If you haven't already, think about subscribing and tell a friend. It's the revamped rebuild of the Pittsburgh Steelers, and looking forward to the next episode, which is coming next Monday. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great day.